Mhm.
So I was really, excited when I heard about your organization through Instagram, and I heard that, you guys are helping out, families with hospitalized children and also families that can't afford housing. And then I also learned that, you had like a past with some surgical procedures and conditions that you went through. So, can you just tell me a little bit about like your personal health journey and, how that inspired the creation of Oshtray Charities?
Sure, like I was diagnosed with IgA nephropathy and HSP when I was around 9 years old. And then after suffering a small stroke and some seizures, I went on dialysis. And then what happened was that like when that was all happening, that was in like a 2.5 year period. So as a kid, you just feel like everything is like, it's just going to the hospital, coming back, going to the hospital. You don't think about things. And then when I had my kidney transplant, I had like when I was 12, I had a little more time to think about like what was actually going on. And I saw my mom and dad. I had my kidney transplant at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. So we it was like about it's like about an hour and 15 if it's the wet traffic is good. So mom and dad were traveling back, and mom actually she lived with me in my hospital room for the since I got admitted, since I left. So, and my dad used to travel back and forth because my sister was in high school and he had to take care of her, and as well as he had to work and everything. So they were traveling back and forth. And my mom, she like I realized that she was like giving up on like food, like because if my dad doesn't bring lunch like in time, or he's like late, she has to hold up. And the second part was that there was no shower in the hospital room, so my mom is giving up on her personal like care as well. So not able to like take care of herself. So that's when I realized that like my mom and dad are really like taking this, not like it's not easy for them. So like when I turned around about 4 years ago, when I started Ashray, that was my inspiration to see and I saw families who were like who were had the same issues, and that was one of the reasons I started Ashray. The second reason I started Ashray was because I did some research and I found that about three quarters of families still live in a child's hospital room, even though like there. I don't know if you've heard of Ronald McDonald House.
I think I have heard of that, yeah.
Yeah, so Ronald McDonald House does like they have an on-property building,
Mhm.
and families can stay there. But one of the things was with my mom when there was a Ronald McDonald House at Chop is that we're vegetarian.
Uh-huh.
So my mom did not want to cook with the like the common utensils.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm also
So
vegetarian, so yeah,
yeah, yeah. So mom didn't want to cook with the normal utensils. So when I started Ashray, I wanted to do. We partner with only extended stay hotels, so families have a kitchen or a kitchenette in their room.
Mhm.
So they have all the like facilities they need. Like, and they have a lot of privacy. In Ronald McDonald House, I give them a bunch of credit. You get your own bedroom, and then you have to share a common room. So like a hotel gives you your own place to stay. It's like your own little mini place to stay,
Yeah.
and it's like it gives you privacy, and then like if you need to, like you can access their like gym, or you can access their pool, or like things like that. So you can de-stress that way. And like we like to call it, like you can reboot, recharge, and game plan for the next day, because like when your child is sick, the only thing that's going on in your head is that like how to take care of my child. And I don't know, like when I got my kidney transplant, like mom and dad were game planning every day, like what's going to happen, what's going to happen, what's going to happen. So it's so one of the best things about like being, oh, it's also good, like it keeps you away from your kids so you can de-stress for a little while, but also like so you can take care of your personal stuff, but also realize like what do I have to do tomorrow to help my child in this situation.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think it's like really cool because you kind of reflected on your own experience and like, all the challenges that your parents especially faced with, helping
Hmm.
you and like you really just thought of like a way to help other families. And I think that's really inspiring. So you talked a lot about, challenges that like your mom and dad faced with, commuting and just staying with you in the hospital. But what about you personally? Like what is like the biggest challenge you think you personally faced like during your time in the hospital?
Uh, like my kidney transplant was like, because it was unexpected, it wasn't that bad, because you just get a call and you say like you have to go to the hospital within an hour, and you have to then they just start the process and you're done. But what happened was I also have epilepsy. So in 2015, I decided to go for brain surgery at Johns Hopkins. And like the thought, like I don't know if you know, but when you have epilepsy, they generally do a resection in which they remove a part of your brain.
Yeah.
So like when I went to Johns Hopkins for like getting through the epilepsy process, like I mean getting through their screening process, I was really nervous because I didn't want to lose a part of my brain. Like I wanted to be seizure free, but not also lose like, some like they told me you will lose some cognitive ability. It's not like you will be like completely 100% back to what you are today.
Uh-huh.
So I was very nervous, and because I was an adult, it was me signing the paper saying, yes, I'm gonna have to have brain surgery. So for about a year, I was really like, like maybe I was like, what's the word? Like keep on like thinking about what's gonna happen, what's gonna happen, what's gonna happen. And then brain surgery, the first surgery I had, thank God, they didn't remove any part of my skull.
Mhm.
But what they did was they drilled depth electrodes. I don't know if you know what that is.
Okay. I've heard of that.
Yeah, so they drilled depth electrodes, so thank God they didn't remove part of my skull. But
Yeah.
what happened was I was in the Johns Hopkins for a week with a video EEG. For 1 week, I did a video EEG. Do you know what an EEG is?
Yeah, electroencephalogram, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a video EEG is just that they put a camera in the room so they can see like if you have a seizure, they can see like what your seizure looks like.
Uh-huh.
So because by telling what it looks like, they can sort of figure out what part of your brain it's coming from.
Yeah.
So I did a week long video EG. Then they drilled about like many holes in my skull, put electrodes into my brain, depth electrodes into my brain, and
Uh-huh.
then again they took me off all my medication, and for a week I was in the hospital again, and
Mhm.
then about what, maybe 8 months later or something, no, 3 or 4 months later, they said that, yeah, we can operate.
Okay.
So I went for what they decided though was because of my kidney transplant, like there's a with when removing the skull and anything like that, there's a big chance of a bleed.
Okay.
And like losing blood because I had a kidney transplant is not good for me because I mean it's not good for anyone,
Yeah.
but uh
Especially.
like for a kidney transplant you can't lose that much blood.
Yeah.
So what they did was they fed like basically a laser from they drilled a hole in the back of my head, and then they filled like a pushed a laser through all the way to my right temporal lobe with my hippocampus and amygdala,
Mhm.
and basically they did an ablation, which basically means that they melted that piece of your brain.
Yeah.
So that they melted off my right hippocampus and amygdala. So and then after that, like I was in the hospital literally for 1 day, and then I was discharged the next day.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
that was cool, but it was really like probably the most challenging thing I had to do because I brain surgery is scary,
Yeah.
and like the way they when they start the process, they tell you a lot of things that can go wrong, which all surgeons do, but there's a lot more things that can go wrong with brain surgery.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things that also like that was my probably my toughest medical journey was like not like kidney disease, because even on kidney disease I was on chemo and I
Mhm.
had a small stroke and everything, but like and I was on dialysis for 2.5 years. But my toughest journey was the brain surgery, because I think one, I was an adult, and when you're an adult and when you're older,
Yeah.
you feel like you realize what can go wrong, and
Yeah.
you know and when you're a kid, you don't really care what can go wrong. Your first idea is when can I get out of the hospital and when can I go home.
Yeah.
So that was probably my toughest medical journey.
Yeah, that makes sense. And also, like, I feel like as an adult, you're like more responsible for yourself, and now you
Yeah,
mentally prepare even more for that. So I really get what you're saying with that.
yeah.
And so you talked about how, like, your whole journey inspired like the creation of Ashray Charities. So like, what does that word Ashray mean to you personally, and why did you choose to name your organization that?
So ashram means shelter in Hindi,
Okay.
and it can also mean to take shelter, to give shelter. You can use it as a verb. So ashray means like if it's more than shelter, it's like also to protect.
Hmm. Yeah.
To so we chose ashray because it's an all-encompassing word. We want to give a not only shelter, but we want to support families, we want to protect families, we want to do all we can for the families that we help. So that's why we chose ashray as our title.
Okay. Um, and that's I think it's really inspiring, the way you just make that work with the whole like purpose and mission of what you're trying to accomplish. And you talked a little bit about, what you've been doing with like providing housing and partnering with other places. So what kind of impact have you seen firsthand, and how does Ashray Charities like continue to support families in need?
Yeah, great question. Like one of the biggest things I've seen is that when the first family that stayed, they didn't give a they left a testim their the social worker left a testimonial for us,
Uh-huh.
and the social workers told us that family was very it was a family like I will if you can this can be a little bit off the record if you want to keep it,
Yeah.
but it was a family who like you can phrase it maybe in a different way, but it was a family who had a infant,
Okay.
and the infant needed to be in the hospital. So the family said that it gave them a big burden off their chest because like taking care of an infant in the like it was she was the infant was in the NICU,
Okay.
and I think you must know in the NICU there's no place for the parent.
Yeah.
It's just a bassinet.
Yeah.
So, like for the family, they didn't have to worry about accommodations. They didn't have to worry about where they're gonna be, how to be near their child, where they're gonna all of that.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing that when they said when we got that testimonial back, that was really heartwarming to see that a family who had an infant in the hospital, we provided them with a place to stay and a place to reboot and recharge
Yeah.
while their child was getting better.
Okay. So that's really nice to see, like how parents are also just like now feeling better about their situation. And I agree with what you said earlier, just like reducing that stress because sometimes as much as you want to support, like just the environment itself can be so stressful for
Hmm.
parents.
Hmm.
And just as far as like, because I'm assuming you've helped so many families. So what's been like the most memorable story from a family who's stayed in Oshray's accommodations?
Sure, the Buchanan family has been the most heartwarming story in the sense that they left and they told us that they felt more united while
Okay.
they were in the hospital. They felt that they were more productive while their child was in the hospital. They felt they were more taken care of. They had a better health outcome for their
Yeah.
child. So that was the Buchanan family gave all those that testimonial back, and that was the most like that. Not only one of the main things is that we want to keep families together and united and well taken care of. To see that they were felt united and taken care of was probably the most reinforcing that our message is getting out there and what we're doing is making a difference.
Yeah. And it's really nice to, just hear that like the mission that you're trying to accomplish is really seen and like this family specifically, like I feel like what you guys are trying to do, they really felt that everything was, up to date and up to par with what they wanted. So that's
Yeah.
really
And like Asha really believe I don't know if you've heard of now in the hospitals it's a big thing, family-centered care.
uh-huh.
So like Ashray is like a big we feel that we're like the bridge for some hospitals for family-centered care because
Okay.
we take care of the family so families can take care of their children better.
Yeah.
So that's our mission is like not only to improve the well-being of the family, but by improving the well-being of the family, we can improve the well-being of the child as well.
Yeah.
Because when the family is well taken care of, it goes back to the child. It feeds back into the child's health.
Yeah. No, that completely makes sense and I agree with that.
Hmm.
And just seeing, like the success that your organization has had and, the positive testimonials that you've received so far, like where do you see this organization in 5 or 10 years and what's your vision for the future of Oshtray?
Great question. Right now, we're looking to expand into CHOP, Children's Hospital Philadelphia.
Okay.
We're going to start with the nephrology department there.
Okay.
And one what the thing is that CHOP is a huge hospital. It has and the thing is that we want to start like small and expand to unit after unit, expand hospital wide.
Yeah.
And so it also has a personal connection to me because I was a nephrology patient at CHOP.
Yeah.
So we're starting with CHOP nephrology, and I see in I want to maybe in I look in 10 years time, I want to build a our vision, our mission is to help accommodate families, but our vision is a place where children can get the healthcare they deserve without worrying about cost or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I want in 10 years time, I want to at least if I know we cannot it's a too broad of a goal to get every health child the healthcare they rightfully deserve,
Yeah.
but I want to bring awareness to the fact that there are so many families who are struggling to get their child's getting good healthcare outcomes for their child.
Yeah.
So in 10 years time or 5 years time, one of our main goals is to at least shed some light and bring awareness to the fact that there are three-quarters of families who live with their child and that these families need to be taken care of. These families need to be known. They need to be
Yeah.
heard.
I fully agree with that. And it's great to see how, you have this plan to expand. And I'm assuming that that will actually help a lot, with spreading more awareness about your goal. And as you may already know, like my organization, Meducate, it's more focused on like similar things, spreading awareness about health and wellness. So this ties in really well with that. And much of our target audience is high schoolers and young adults. So in general, how do you think people can, get involved and support Osher charities, whether it's through spreading the word or donating, volunteering? Is there anything for people
For
to do?
sure, donations are great. You can go to our website and donate directly, or we're looking, volunteers make a big difference, and we would love to have volunteers on board who want to make a difference in a family's life,
Uh-huh.
especially a family who is struggling with childhood illness. So volunteering is a great way to do it. But if you want to advocate for Ashra. Tell Ashra to go out and say that there's too many families staying in hospitals living with their child. We need to make a difference. We need to fix this problem. This
Yeah.
problem is it's too big. It's too big of a problem to go unnoticed.
Yeah, no, I agree with that for sure. And, I'm hoping that, you guys get more momentum as the years go on and more support from other people as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And finally, just connecting back to, your story and how, this inspired the creation of Ashray Charities. Like for other families that, are going through similar medical crises right now, what
Hmm.
message would you want them to hear from someone, who's walked a similar path as them?
That people are out there who will help. That's the first thing. So don't feel that you're alone. Don't feel that you're fighting this problem, fighting this illness by yourself. There are people out there who want to help you. So that's the first thing I want them to take away.
Yeah.
Sec and the second thing I want them to take away is that if you feel alone, make it known. Make it go out and say that I need help. You don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And I feel like your journey is just so inspiring and just seeing how, you were able to grow and create such an inspiring organization and just support people that, have gone through similar things as you. I just feel like it's a really good cause that you're supporting.
Thank you.
And yeah, of course. And that's pretty much all I had.
Okay.